Hey folks, video here about note taking. So our learning objective is going to be you can effectively use a note taking system to improve your learning. So where I'm pulling this is from the Cult of Pedagogy podcast by Jennifer Gonzalez. I didn't come up with all of these strategies myself. Some of it is mine. But most of it comes from this source. So if you're curious, go check out Jennifer Gonzalez and the Cult of Pedagogy. She's an amazing educator. I get a lot of good information from her. Okay, so the first thing that I want to make sure you understand about note taking, it is not just for lectures, and it is not just for like writing down the correct answers in your notes so you know what the answer is on the test. It's for any subject area. It's for anything you're trying to do to learn: videos, reading, research, field trips, anything you want to go to and like, hey, I should remember this. You should be taking notes because it really does matter. And so scientifically, I can prove without a doubt that if you take notes as you're learning something, you are going to learn better than if you didn't. 10 times out of 10, that's just how it works. Now, I can't guarantee that like if you take notes, you're going to get an A or a perfect score on everything, but I know that you're going to do better than if you didn't take notes. And secondly, note taking is a life skill. It's not just for school. Think about yourself in a professional context. If you have an hour meeting with a boss and a client, and you get out of that meeting, and 30 minutes later, you have to call up your boss or that client and be like, hey, I know we just spent an hour talking to each other, but could you tell me again what we talked about? Because I couldn't be bothered to put it down or to write it down. All right. So note taking is a way to increase your professionalism. It's a way to learn. It's a way to just record important information. So practice taking notes. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And so what I want to make sure that you understand is kind of the process that we go through when our memory is working. And why note-taking works is because it requires effort. Remember, intelligence is not about what you can put into your brain. It's about what you can get out of your brain. That's what actually drives learning. And so note-taking is active. It's not passive. You can't just sit there and let the information wash over you and be like, okay, I get it now. You're actually having to process that information and put it back on the page. And so the steps to putting something into our memory are like this. First, we've got to gather the relevant information. And usually if you're sitting in school, if you're reading a textbook, watching a video, listening to a lecture, the relevant information is right in front of you. You don't have to go searching for it. But then you have to prep it for storage, right? It's not like you can just copy and paste everything that you're seeing in a video or in a lecture into your brain. And so this is why I'm going to say use the term code instead of copy. So when you're watching a slideshow or watching a video, do not write everything down word for word. That is not that helpful. That does not actually help you code information. I could train monkeys to write down word for word what's on a slide. You are a more complex being than this. So what you need to be doing is you need to be deciding, how am I going to write this information down in a way that's going to make sense for me? A lot of times you're going to abbreviate, you're going to paraphrase, you're going to put these ideas into your own words so you can check yourself later. That's what we're doing when we're coding information. And I encourage you to do that as you take notes. Then we actually have to store it in our heads. And then the last step to memory is we have to retrieve it. So remember, just writing things down in your notes is not enough to have a perfect memory. We have to practice getting it back out. And that's where our notes help. So if we're working on studying and we're working on memorizing something and you're thinking through, okay, I think I remember A, B, maybe C, you can go back to your notes and check what C is and then continue your practice that way. So other thing to keep in mind is the more you can write down, the better. And obviously you have to find a balance between this, between how fast a video is going. Can you pause that video, take some notes and then continue it? Does your teacher go too fast or too slow? You're going to have to adjust the rate at which you take notes depending on the situation. But generally, scientifically proven that the more you're writing down, the more connections you're making on your notes, the more you're actually going to store and encode in your memory. You should also approach notes with a strategy, right? Don't just randomly scribble things on your page. There's a couple of tools that I'll link to on my classroom blog, like Cornell Notes or sketchnoting or the outline method, that gives you a system to write things down and a way to help you organize your thoughts. So make sure that you check out some of those and try a couple out. You know, maybe try Cornell Notes for a day and then try sketchnoting for a day and see which one works best for you. Without a doubt, adding visuals definitely helps to your notes. If you can create an image, or even if you're not a good drawer, any type of visual aspect to correspond with what you're learning about, you're going to have a better chance of remembering that and actually storing that into the schema of your mind. So don't be afraid to doodle as you're taking notes, especially if it's relevant. See if you can come up with icons or symbols or drawings that are going to help you memorize and remember what these concepts are. Pausing and revising also boosts learning. So what we'll try to do in this class is occasionally we'll do a brain dump. So as we're going through a lecture, we'll stop. We'll either answer some questions or we'll just download what we're remembering in our brain. And that pause actually helps us learn and retain more information. And then lastly, handwritten notes are best. Digital notes are more easily revised. So in this class, I'm going to ask you that you handwrite notes, but know that, you know, having a computer in front of you is nice and handy, right? A lot of people can type faster than they can write. But the benefit of writing is because you can't write as fast as you can type, you have to paraphrase and you have to kind of abbreviate and make those mental decisions as the lecture or the video is going on. And that's the first step that's part of your coding and coding process, right? The benefit to digital notes is, since you are a little bit faster, they're a little bit easier to reorganize. You know, you can copy paste different pages here and there. But there's also the big distraction element of taking notes when you're staring at a computer screen. I mean, the internet is just one click away. It's so close. So that's why we're going to go with handwritten notes in this class. All right. So I've got a couple of note-taking resources posted on my blog. Make sure you're taking a look at that. We've got a couple of practices. Good luck, folks.